Don Tutuska. I was a E5 when I got out, a second class I seaman, and started out in late 1965, around November. I was 19 at the time and primed for the draft. Vietnam was raging, and I had two brothers that had been in the Navy. So I decided, my cousin and I went down to the recruiter and signed up for the Navy. They gave us 120 days to start our active duty, and during that 120 days I got drafted anyway. So I took the draft notice to the recruiter, and he said, "Oh, I'll handle that kid." So apparently he did, because I've never been arrested for draft dodging. But and then went to Great Lakes in February of '66 and spent close to 13 weeks in boot camp, because it was supposed to be less than that, but I had dental issues, and they said, "Oh, we got to put you in a holding company." So they dragged my cousin and put him in there too. So he ended up with a few extra weeks of boot camp because of me, and wasn't happy about that. And went from boot camp, come home for a couple of weeks on leave, and then went right back to Great Lakes for A school. Went to basic electricity school, and right from that got sent to the USS America in Norfolk. And that was a shock. The Enterprise was on one side of the pier and the America was on the other side of the pier, and the cab dropped me off at the end of the pier with my sea bag, and I was just dumbfounded at the size of these things. And that was my home for the next few years. And we made some small cruises around, shakedown cruises and whatnot, and then in 1967 we went to the Mediterranean, and first port was Athens, Greece, or Piraeus was where they land, and we hit Athens and Taranto, Italy, and Livorno, Italy, and Genoa, Italy, and Malta, Istanbul, and the Navy says they see the world. You're going to. Well, we did anyways. And I'll never forget going alongside the USS Liberty in June of 1967 when the Israelis attacked our spy ship over there, and during the Arab-Israeli War, and killed 47 sailors, I believe, including the XO. And I still have photographs of that we took from the elevators, and that ship was just a mess. And we took a lot of the dead and wounded on board our ship, as did the USS Little Rock, which is in our servicemen's park down here now, and where we had our memorial service the other day. And that was eye-opening when you see we had nuclear weapons on board our ship, and when you see them mounting them onto aircraft, it makes you wonder. Here you are sitting on the biggest target in the ocean, and they're mounting nuclear weapons on aircraft, because nobody knew what was happening at the time. And that was probably the scariest moment for everybody else, because being in the E division, I was down below decks 90% of the time, and you don't know what's happening. And so that was probably the most memorable thing on the ship. And come back from that in 1967, and can't remember what month we got back, but I turned 21 in November 11th, and November 25th my wife and I got married, and she became a Navy bride, and we moved from there back to Norfolk after the wedding, and then 68 we got deployed to Vietnam, and while I was over there my son was born. He was 3 months old before I saw him. We didn't have the communications then that we have now, and I didn't even know he was born for 10 days, and I got a letter from my sister. So that was interesting. But Vietnam cruise for us was basically just another cruise, but the pilots in that, they saw it differently. They had a rough time over there, a lot of them. But we still got to see a lot of the East Japan, and Philippines was basically our home port, and coming back, the captain decided, well, we headed east to get there, so we'll keep heading east. So we circumnavigated the globe and came all the way back, stopped at Australia and New Zealand on the way back. So ended up seeing quite a bit of the world, more than I thought I'd ever see. So, and that pretty much sums it up. In October of 1969, President Nixon gave us an early out. I wasn't scheduled to get out for 3 more months, but I got out in October, and when I left the America, it was sitting in dry dock in Portsmouth, Virginia. And then, about 10 years ago or so, I got involved with the Carrier Veterans Association, and I'm the secretary and the board of directors now, and it's been a good trip, so had a good time.